True crime stories are more popular than ever. Why are we so attracted to them? Our obsession with gruesome real-life stories tells us a lot about the human psyche. By Patty Greco, October 29th, 2020. This is the latest article in Health's column, but why? Here, experts decipher the psychological reasons behind puzzling human behavior mysteries. When Netflix released Making a Murderer in December 2015, it was all the binge-watching public could talk about. Was Stephen Avery wrongfully convicted of murder for a second time, or did he, in fact, kill Teresa Halbach? Armchair detectives hadn't worked that much overtime since the 2014 release of Serial, the blockbuster investigative podcast that cast doubt on the conviction of Adnan Syed for the murder of Hae Min Lee. There's no disputing our collective fascination with true crime. It's why so many of us are addicted to podcasts like My Favorite Murder and Crime Junkie. It's why we invest hours in series like Netflix's Unsolved Mysteries. The second season started earlier this month, and HBO's I'll Be Gone in the Dark. And it's why we've devoured books like Helter Skelter and In Cold Blood, often in one sitting. But what explains this interest in such gruesome real-life tales, particularly for women, who research suggests are more attracted to the genre than men are? Why are we so drawn to horrible tragedies that could, in theory, befall us or someone we love at any moment? Here's what the experts have to say about it. It acts as a rehearsal of sorts. According to research published in 2010, women are bigger fans of true crime than men. One theory for why that is, even though men are statistically more likely to be the victims of violent crime than women, with the exception of rape and sexual assault, women may feel more vulnerable to attack, and therefore more inclined to gather intel about how to survive a true crime scenario were it to occur. If you ask people, why do you like true crime? I don't think most of them would say, I'm learning how to keep it from happening to me. Amanda Vickery, Ph.D., co-author of the 2010 study and now an associate professor in the psychology department at Illinois Wesleyan University, tells Health. But I think deep down that may very well be what's going on. In fact, her report found that women were most drawn to true crime stories that gave them tips for spotting danger and staying alive. If the true crime story had something about the psychological content of the killer, something that implied they would learn about what set him off and what signs to look out for, they liked it, says Vickery. If they thought they might learn something about how someone escaped, they liked it. So my big take-home message was that it was all related to survival. True crime is strangely reassuring. Experts say watching true crime can be oddly comforting, a way of reassuring yourself that such a terrible fate could never befall you. You separate yourself from the victim, like, I would never be naive enough to marry a man who's been living a double life as a serial killer. Margot Levin, Ph.D., a clinical psychologist based in New York City, tells Health. You don't have the background or you haven't had the experiences that would lead you to be tied into this. Unfortunately, that thinking is also part of how we get to blaming the victim, Levin explains. Because we want to think the person who suffers did something to deserve that, so we can think that it will never happen to us. Vickery agrees, pointing to the just world theory for context. It's this idea that people have an innate need to view the world as a safe and orderly place where bad things happen to bad people and good things happen to good people, she says. And so there can be this tendency to be like, was she drinking? Was she walking alone at night? Did she forget to lock the door? Because it's really scary if the person did everything right and was home with the doors and windows locked and something still happened to them. Because then you have to admit, oh my gosh, that could happen to me.